Well, good morning, 2Ps. Obviously, I'm not here, but because you couldn't stand not listening to me for one day, I decided to record today's lesson. So, continuing with what we were working on. So, yesterday, on Thursday, we spent some more time determining the slope of lines, and we did it if we were given a graph. We also were able to determine the slope if we were given 2 points. So what we're moving on is still with the equations of lines, but now we want to actually find the equation of a line if I have a graph. So we need to be able to find slope, and we need to find a few other things, and it's actually quite, I'm hoping you find it quite easy to be able to do it. So you can see, so lesson 5, okay, so it's page 8 of your green book, finding equation of lines when given a graph. So what we need when we're talking about this, we need a few different things. We need to remember that when we're talking about equations of lines, the general equation is y equals mx plus b. Now we use this in the first spiral, and we're still continuing using with it. So we already know that m is slope. Okay, and we know how to find slope when we're given a graph, because that's what we did the last day and a half. And now we need to look at some other things. Because we're making a formula for a line, the equation, we want to keep y and x open, which means that I have to be able to find this plus b. Now, in spiral 1, we called it the initial value or the starting value. But what it really is when we're talking about graphs is actually the y-intercept. So the y-intercept means I want to find the y-axis and I want to follow it down. So if I look at this one for a second, and I'll just change to my magic pen. So I find the y-axis and I follow it down until I find where the line crosses this axis. And in this case, you can see it's -3. So if I wanted the y-intercept for this line, I would write down -3. So let's actually look at these equations now. So to make the equation, as I said, I need to be able to fill in m and b. So going to our diagram, it's probably easiest to find b actually first. So if I follow y all the way down, I can see that it crosses at 2. So I'm just going to write here to the side b equals +2. Now to calculate the slope, remember I need to find another location on this graph where this line intersects the grid exactly. So what I can see on mine and what you can see on your paper might be slightly different. I see a spot here, and there's other spots as well. And if I make my triangle, I can see that I'm rising 1 and I'm running 2. And what about positive or negative slope? Remember what I said is it's like reading a book. So as I read the book, oh, there's that blue line. It is going up. Therefore, it's a positive slope. So I don't have to put a negative. So this is rise over run. So my rise here is 1. My run is 2. So just with those two pieces of information, I can actually make the formula or equation for this particular line. So we just fill in, so y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So all we're doing is we're taking the information that we discovered and putting it in this case to b, which translates to a +2, the m, which is 1/2, into the m in the formula, and we end up with 1/2. Okay, don't worry, that's all going to disappear. So that's really what we're doing for the first few examples. So let's take a look at the next one. So I know I need to find what b equals. I also need to find out my slope. Again, I think it's easier to find the y-intercept first, so here's my y-axis. As I go down it, where does it cross? Oh, it crosses at -3. I talked about that before. Now to find this slope, again, I have one point. It maybe crosses here. It looks like on my graph it crosses here. Yours might look slightly different. Nope, that was not a straight line. That's a little bit better. Pretend it's straight. So we have it rises 2 and it runs 1. So I have 2 over 1. Now you can leave it as 2 over 1 or you can change it to the number 2. That's totally up to you. And I take my general formula, y equals mx plus b. I substitute in my m, which is 2. And then I find my b, which is -3. Now I'm not going to go plus a -3, I'm just going to replace the plus b with -3. So 2 more examples and then you get to have some, oh actually 3 more examples, sorry. Next one. Okay, the same kind of thing. I need to calculate both my m and my b. My b, if I look, here's my y-axis, there's 5, and it looks like it's crossing right here at 4. So that's what my y-intercept's going to be. Now if I look at my slope, I need rise over run, and it maybe crosses there. It's a little bit hard. I know that it definitely crosses here. So I am going to pick this one just because it's a little bit easier for me to see, and it's not because I'm old, Wade, or Liam, or Landon. Okay, so let's take a look. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and here it's going 1, 2. So it's 4 over 2, which can be reduced, but I also have another issue. If I read this like a book, when I move from left to right, I can see that this blue line is going down, so I know it's actually a negative slope this time. So after I calculate 4 over 2, I just make it negative, and if I reduce that, that is actually -2 over 1, or just -2. Taking our information for m and b, we now can make the formula or equation for this line. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. There's nothing really tricky about this part. Now the next 2 lines are these special lines. Remember we have lines, like for instance here my slope equals 0, and my slope for this one is undefined. It makes, oops, I couldn't get my T in there. There it is. The problem is with this is this one here has a y-intercept, and its y-intercept is 3, so that's no problem. I could put b equals 3, and I could actually use y equals mx plus b to actually make the equation for this horizontal line, because it would be 0 times x plus 3, and obviously 0 times x, there really isn't an x there, so that would be my equation. Now my problem is, how do I put a few different things with this one? First of all, here's the y-axis. This line does not cross it, so I don't have a b. Okay, so I can't put 0 as b because 0 would be here. Okay, so it doesn't have that, and I have an undefined slope. So if I replace my m with the word undefined, I can't work with that either. So this special line is x equals -1. So it means it doesn't matter what y is, but x always, always has to equal -1. And you can see that if I look at this point here is -1, 3. This point down here is -1, -4. And if I extended that line, it would be -1, maybe 2,000. Okay, so it just continues and continues, but the x value is always equal to -1, and that's how the formula is made. Now, Another way to help remember this, because I'll be honest, I do not fill in this one either with that. I know if it's horizontal, the equation is always going to be y equals a number, and that number will be where it crosses the y-axis. And if I have a vertical line, I know it will always be x equals a number. All right, so that's today's lesson. So what you're going to do is you're going to finish, well actually finish the work from yesterday if you didn't finish it, and you're going to complete the equations of lines handout. Okay, so you're looking at the questions where you're given the graph and you have to come up with the equation. Have fun and have a great weekend. I will see you Monday. Bye.